Welcome to the Morning Edition Extra. I'm Adelmi Ruiz, coming to you from the digital desk at Alaska's News Source. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and for starting off your day with us on this Monday morning. Our top story. One day after 37-year-old Alex Preddy was killed by a federal officer in Minneapolis, Alaskans were outside protesting the situation and remembering the man who died. Protesters gathered in front of Peterson Tower in Anchorage Sunday afternoon. While we were there, we counted about 80 people who joined them. Many of them carried signs railing against ICE. In Minneapolis and elsewhere, the organizer says we meant the gathering to be both a protest and a vigil for Preddy. Protesters told us their shared motivations for being there.
The name that should be on everyone's mind today. I don't do this for, my own personal pride. I do this because I feel like it's the right thing to do.
I'm from Minnesota originally. All my friends are talking about, seeing ICE on the street, capturing people, and it's like really devastating for the community. But seeing everybody's responses is really uplifting and it brings me a lot of pride.
I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. The idea that you could be executed for having a holstered weapon at a peaceful protest, that is unacceptable. It should bother every Alaskan, it should bother every American.
And now tossing it over to weather, here is our meteorologist Aaron Morrison, who's going to give us a breakdown over what weather we're seeing. As on my way to work, I was noticing a bit of snow on the ground. Aaron.
Have a winter weather advisory in effect for Anchorage as well as Eagle River for all elevations as well as lower parts of the Matanuska Valley. There is a first alert weather day today and into our Tuesday. Now for today, the biggest impacts will be areas of freezing drizzle. Now that heavy snowfall we were talking about last week, that's been pushed off by about 12 to 24 hours and set to arrive into our Tuesday, where we could pick up a couple to several inches of snow accumulation as we welcome in Tuesday and Wednesday. Now you can see current conditions across South Central, 20 degrees in Anchorage. We do have some lowering visibility across parts of the region. You can see out towards Palmer, a little bit in the way of some blowing snow on those roadways, likely holding on to some icy conditions as well as along parts of the Glen Highway, where we are seeing some localized areas of freezing drizzle. So take it easy on those roadways, watch those roads, drive safely as ice will be possible. Slow down and use caution and treat those roads as if they are icy. Even in locations where we did see some of that light snow, you could still encounter some of those slick spots up underneath that snowfall. So ongoing rain and snow out towards southeast. We'll see ample dry time across South Central today once that light snow this morning tapers off. And then we'll see heavier activity arriving into our Tuesday. And we'll pick up some of the heaviest snowfall through the Copper River Basin. Notice out towards coastal areas through Prince William Sound, down towards Seward. We may see more in the way of a rain snow mix. But here over the next couple of days, we are going to see additional rounds of some heavy snowfall, which will carry us through Wednesday, and then we kind of dry out through the rest of the week. So for today, we may see an additional inch or so of snowfall accumulation with about 2 to 5 inches through the Copper River Basin. That's what we can expect for the rest of your Monday. And then as we welcome in Tuesday, that snow will become heavier through the afternoon hours and into the night, where we could see up to about 8+ inches of snow accumulation. Now keep in mind, 4 to 8+ inches looks possible. So some areas across South Central, which looks to be more so across western parts of the Kenai and through the Cook Inlet region, where we could see those lower snowfall totals. But even here in Anchorage, we have that potential for picking up nearly 8 inches of that snow accumulation. In fact, snow model trends showing on the low side, we could see about 5 inches, while on the highest side, we could see about 13-ish or so inches. So there is a large spread in terms of that snowfall that we are going to see as we welcome in your Tuesday and Wednesday. So be prepared for several inches to be expected. And then by Wednesday, we are going to be watching another round of some possible wintry mix, which will mix in across parts of South Central. So that's our first alert weather day for today and into tomorrow. Again, by Wednesday, that activity will begin to lighten up, although we will see some localized areas of wintry mix, and then those temperatures warm near freezing through the rest of the week.
All right, thank you so much, Aaron. Now, Senator Lisa Murkowski released her statement on the killing of Alex Preddy on Sunday, stating that this in part should raise serious questions within the administration about the adequacy of immigration enforcement training and the instructions officers are given on carrying out their mission. She also called for a comprehensive independent investigation of the shooting. And Senator Sullivan's team said in part that he, quote, believes we should gather all the facts and investigate the incident before drawing conclusions. And continued saying in part, quote, Senator Sullivan strongly supports our law enforcement and their ability to do their jobs. He also believes that any loss of life is tragic and hopes that the temperature in Minnesota on both sides can be lowered and that the situation between protesters and law enforcement de-escalates and the violence dissipates, end quote. And we reached out to Representative Nick Begich, but have not heard back yet. And now the latest on an oil rig that collapsed. The largest land-based drilling rig in North America toppled over on Alaska's North Slope on Friday, sparking a small fire. To put this in perspective, imagine a 16-story building falling over. According to ConocoPhillips, Doyen Rig 26 went down around 4:45 p.m. while being moved on an ice road. Crews quickly contained the fire. There were no serious injuries reported. The company adding there is no damage to pipelines, fuel transportation, or nearby infrastructure. The Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation is aware and is actively monitoring the situation. Governor Mike Dunleavy released a statement on X saying in part, quote, there was a small fire, but so far appears to be minimal damage to the environment and no impact to oil infrastructure or facilities. They are responding with a team working on plans to recover the rig, and we will know more as they assess, end quote. In an update, they did since confirm that the evidence of a diesel spill was confirmed by emergency responders. However, further assessments are still in progress, indicating that as of 1 p.m. on Sunday, no ongoing leaks were found. No impacts to wildlife have been reported. However, the site of the leak was less than 500 feet away from a tributary of the Nekalik channel of the Colville River, and the spill area lies within critical habitat for denning and non-denning polar bears, caribou, Arctic fox, muskox, and ptarmigan. They are continuing to monitor for any potential impacts this may have. Anchorage firefighters are investigating a deadly mobile home fire in the Russian Jack Park area. Several crews were called out on Friday morning to the Malaspina trailer court near Debar and Braga. When they arrived, the rear of the trailer was engulfed in flames. Crews pushed through the front door to conduct a search, and firefighters say one person was found dead inside and 5 dogs and 1 cat succumbed to the fire. A fire inspector on scene reiterated the need for working smoke alarms.
The single biggest thing the public can do to avoid tragedy is make sure that they have a working smoke alarm in their bedroom, in their hallway. If you don't have one, reach out to the Anchorage Fire Department. We will get you one. It's important.
An investigation is underway to determine the origin and cause of the fire. And in Kenai, one person is dead after a fire in a motel on Sunday morning. That's according to the City of Kenai Fire Department. It says firefighters responded to the Uptown Motel just after 9 a.m. The fire department says firefighters found someone unconscious in the room where the fire started and they were not able to be resuscitated. The department says firefighters put out the fire in the area it started and prevented it from spreading to the rest of the building. And the Alaska National Guard says there was a fire at the Fairbanks Alaska National Guard Readiness Center Friday morning. They say it happened around 5 a.m. and no injuries were reported. The building is commonly known as the Fairbanks Armory. The cause is under investigation, but it says there's no indication of criminal activity. And an update to a story out of Fairbanks. Alaska State Troopers arrested 2 people in connection with a burglary case in Esther earlier this month. 37-year-old Joshua Reed and 36-year-old Caitlin Kootenai were taken into custody Friday. During the investigation, troopers found 4 vehicles, approximately 20 guns, and recovered 40 ounces of stolen gold. Troopers are still searching for an additional suspect in the case, 37-year-old Benjamin Cross. He is considered armed and dangerous and has connections in both Fairbanks and Anchorage. Anyone with information is asked to contact troopers at 907-451-5100. And Anchorage property taxes, from shocked, concerned, how is this possible, to my taxes will go up. So we heard you. Our Rebecca Palsha takes those questions directly to Mayor Suzanne LaFrance about some of those property tax assessments going up by up to 40%.
See that house? And that one. And the one down the road. How much do you think each is worth? So did you get your assessment?
I did.
Has it gone up?
My assessment did go up this year.
How much?
I believe like 13%.
13% for Anchorage Assembly member Keith McCormick, to 40% for others. To the mayor's property assessment, that went down.
You know, I was surprised by my own green card. My property has gone mostly up in the last few years, but also down.
You've asked us to find out, have property tax assessments gone up? And why do they seem higher than the year before? Why would somebody's assessment have gone up 40% over 1 year time period?
It could be due to a construction project, new construction. It could be due to being underassessed.
This year was a little bit of a shock for sure.
Why is that?
Just to see the significant increase over a 1 year period of time, and then hearing from constituents blowing up my emails is really the first time I got it or heard about it.
Mayor Suzanne LaFrance said this year's changes were made in the assessor's office to match national standards. The city says 1/3 of properties, 32%, saw valuation decreases, but some properties did see large adjustments. 10% of properties adjusted by more than 10%. This new method, she says, more clearly lays out neighborhoods as a group versus assessments based on street by street. The reason for this change, according to the city, is that neighborhoods were valued in fragments instead of as a unit, putting one person's home at a higher value while someone across the street could have a lower home assessment.
And this year, the numbers actually 4.3% average increase are largely in line with last year's numbers. And state law directs the municipality to obtain true and full value of properties.
What about the people who are saying, you know, like my bill went up 40%? Is that has to be kind of a scary thing for them?
Oh, absolutely. And I totally understand, you know, why people have questions and concerns. And I want to encourage everybody, flip over your green card. There's a phone number you can call, 907-343-6500, or you can go online to muni.org and contact the Municipal Assessor's Office.
Rebecca Palsha, Alaska's news source.
The mayor added that the new method more clearly lays out neighborhoods as a group versus assessments based on street by street. The reason for this change, according to the city, is that neighborhoods were valued in fragments instead of as a unit, putting one person's home at a higher value while someone across the street could have a lower home assessment. In Anchorage, animal care and control hits a breaking point after officers seized 150 animals in an ongoing neglect case. Lauren Maxwell tells us how the shelter is handling the surge and what you can do.
Most of the animals we're talking about are small, dozens of rabbits, roosters, and hens. Because they're in protective custody, we can't show you them, but we can let you hear what they sound like. At Anchorage Animal Care and Control, every cage, every pen is full.
Just by the sheer volume of the intake, we've kind of had to get creative. So we do have chickens and roosters and dog runs, which is a new experience for us.
And so is this, a freshly laid egg. On Thursday, officers seized a remarkable number of animals that the shelter is now gearing up to house and feed.
22 roosters, 103 bunnies, 2 cats, 7 fish, and then an odd amount of chickens that add up to 150 in total.
Add that to the cats and dogs that were already here, and the situation with space has gotten critical.
This is the most amount of animals I've ever seen in this building.
They're asking the public to help by adopting the pets who are waiting for their forever homes.
So, I mean, if you are looking for that furry companion, we desperately say now is the perfect time, because it would really help free up some space in our shelter and, again, give our staff more time to care for the amount of animals that are here.
For now, he says, it's all hands on deck. They've no idea how long the new arrivals will stay. Lauren Maxwell, Alaska's news source.
This morning, questions and outrage growing after federal agents shot another person in Minneapolis. Saturday, agents shot and killed a VA hospital nurse, Alex Preddy, who appeared to be taking video of an immigration arrest. As more videos of the shooting emerge, many are questioning the Trump administration's story about what really happened. Alice Barr has more from Washington.
This morning, a growing outcry over the shooting death of 37-year-old Alex Preddy by federal law enforcement in Minneapolis, the city's second involving federal law enforcement this month. As protesters react to the multiple videos capturing the scene, the Trump administration is defending the officers. The Department of Homeland Security posting that Preddy, quote, approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
When they tried to get him to disengage, he became aggressive and resisted them throughout that process. These officers used their training, followed their protocols, and were in fear of their lives.
The videos, shot from various angles, show federal agents shoving someone before Preddy steps in. Preddy is then pepper sprayed in the face by an officer while holding his phone and is then wrestled to the ground. DHS said he brandished a weapon, but the videos don't appear to show that. This one does show an agent appearing to remove a gun from Preddy's back waistband seconds before the shots are fired. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar among elected officials rejecting the Trump administration's description of the scene.
I just keep thinking, your eyes don't lie.
Local officials say Preddy had a permit to carry, and groups like the Gun Owners of America are defending his right to bear arms while protesting. Preddy was an ICU nurse for a Minneapolis VA hospital, his parents calling him kind-hearted and deeply caring.
He loved his country, but he hated what people were doing to it.
President Trump overnight demanding state and local officials cooperate with his administration's deportation efforts as those officials call on ICE to leave the state. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The Minnesota National Guard has been activated in Minneapolis at the direction of Governor Tim Walz in the wake of the killing of Alex Preddy. The Minnesota National Guard was activated in Minneapolis on Saturday. The death of Preddy marks the second person federal officers have killed in Minneapolis in less than 3 weeks and has prompted widespread protests. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz activated the Guard at the request of both Mayor Jacob Frey and the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And on Sunday, during a press conference, Governor Walz called for the removal of ICE agents from his state while highlighting the rising death toll. The city said Guard members will wear neon reflective vests to, quote, distinguish them from other agencies in similar uniforms, and will remain in close proximity to local police. The city emphasized that the federal government has no involvement in their deployment. And we are going to take a very quick break. We will be right back with more on the Morning Edition Extra. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back in. Thank you so much for sticking around. Our next story. Tax season is here, and many Americans could see higher refunds this year. The Treasury Department estimates they'll average $1,000 more per household, and that's because many filers didn't adjust their withholdings. When recent income tax breaks began, a new law boosts the individual standard deduction by $750, and by twice that for married couples. It also expands state and local tax deductions and gives a new break to some seniors. And the price of gold has crossed a threshold never seen before. Gold prices surged past $5,000 an ounce for the first time on Sunday. Analysts say the spike in price comes amid worries President Donald Trump is upending relations between the United States and its allies in Europe and Canada. That is causing investors to stick with a reliable asset like gold. So far this year, the price of gold has jumped 15%, building on a record 65% jump in gold prices achieved last year. Now, in this Watching Your Wallet, we're going to be talking about stalled car repairs and what it can do to your wallet and how you can save as much money as possible.
For Pennsylvania resident Ed Perry, having a car is a necessity to get around his town. So when his Chevy Volt started having problems in December 2024, he says he immediately took it in for repairs.
They told me that one of the main cells in the battery pack was damaged. And they said, well, we might not get the part until the end of January.
But Perry says the date kept getting pushed back.
I kept going back, and it became the end of January, then the middle of February, then the end of February, then the middle of March, and finally the end of April.
And he says even after that, his car still wasn't ready. So Perry says he wrote letters to Chevrolet looking for answers.
And I did not get any response to that, except I had somebody from the executive office call me and said, we have no idea of the ETA on getting that part to you.
He says the wait dragged on for months to the point his warranty was ticking down. He ended up buying another car just to get around.
That car has sit at Stocker Chevrolet from December 30th until close to the end of November, almost a whole year.
After that, Perry says he turned to Lemon Law attorneys and filed a complaint. Lemon Law attorney Robert Silverman says parts delays like this are not unusual, and your options can depend on your state, your warranty, and how long the vehicle has been out of service. He says start by asking for a clear timeline and get a repair order that documents your complaint and that the part is on order. If you're going to be without your vehicle for a while, ask for a loaner. And if the delay drags on or the same problem keeps coming back, he says do not wait too long to get help because some claims have deadlines.
You're going to wait, lose your legal rights. Instead of waiting, get compensation in case it fails again so you can trade it in with their money.
Perry says his case was settled and he eventually got his car back repaired. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
For this next Watching Your Wallet, we're going to be talking about bank accounts being closed and what that means for your scores, what it means for your debt, and what you can do about that when your bank account is closed.
What happened to the woman that you're about to meet could happen to anyone. Her Chase bank account had enough money in it, but she had no access to those funds because the account was frozen after she deposited a 5-figure check.
Initially, Chase Bank said that it was flagged as a fraudulent check and that they couldn't verify the check.
Rosalind Samalu called and visited branches.
And each time I get a different story.
This was her only bank account, so even her money that was in there before the check was deposited was also out of reach.
I can't pay my bills. My car insurance lapsed. I can't afford to buy any food. I have specialists that I have to see because I am in remission recently from cancer. Yesterday, I had an appointment with a specialist that was 50 minutes away there and 15 minutes away back. And I'm just praying, like, please get home because I don't have the gas.
Chase looked into the situation and found that both the writer of the check and Rosalind had previous returned or unauthorized checks, so they needed to review the transaction. In a statement, a spokesperson said, quote, "To protect customers against rising check fraud, we review checks and deposits for inconsistencies to ensure they're valid. After further review, the funds have been returned and we apologize to Ms. Samalu for the delay." Now the money is good to go, but not without lots of stress.
It is a hell of a fight.
So there was no check fraud in this case, but in general, because check fraud is such a problem, Chase Bank says consumers should use permanent ink to prevent check washing, which is when people will steal a check and then make changes to it. Fill in the entire line to make sure that extra information can't be added afterward, and write amounts clearly. Also, use a consistent signature. But overall, Chase suggests avoiding checks if there is any other payment option available. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Sasha Bray.
In this next Did You Know segment, we're going to be talking about what you can do if you get scammed and what to do to prevent being in that situation, getting scammed.
What happened to the woman that you're...
Every single day, pets go missing. The search to bring them home is stressful. And scammers use that emotion, that desperate feeling, to cash in.
Nala's a good cuddler.
She sleeps right here at night.
But a couple weeks ago, the 5.5-year-old pit bull lab mix got out. Valerie's been frantically searching for her ever since, posting flyers all over social media.
I've just been worried, sick about her.
So imagine her relief when her phone rang.
Got a call, individual portraying to be a Phoenix police officer. He said his name was Officer McGee. They have my dog.
She was safe, but supposedly had a broken leg.
How do I know that this is my dog? He sent me a picture. Picture looked, it was her. That I knew it was her. She had on a purple collar, her face, markings, everything.
When you requested it, was it pretty quick?
It was pretty quick. And I said, her name is Nala. He goes, yeah, she's responding to that name that appears, wagging her tail. And he made it very, very, very believable that he had her.
Then the caller asked for money.
He was saying, well, we need to get the vet bill paid. It's roughly $1,700, but whatever you can come up with, we will take that, and then I'll put you in for financial hardship for the rest.
She borrowed $1,300 and Zelled it to the person on the phone. Then he gave her an address where she could go get her dog.
Come to find out, I was sent to the courthouse. Nobody there, closed like Fort Knox, no lights, no nothing.
What went through your mind when you pulled up to that empty parking lot?
First, I was excited that I was going to get her, and then disappointment, rage.
It was all a scam. A fake police officer, an AI-generated photo based on the real photos of Nala from the missing pet posts.
Unfortunately, we hear about these lost pet scams pretty frequently.
Kim Powell with Maricopa County Animal Care and Control says artificial intelligence is making the scams more believable.
The first thing to remember is that we are never going to ask for money over the phone for you to get your pet back.
Police won't either.
Slow down, let your emotions calm down a bit, vet the information. If something sounds too good to be true, or if someone is trying to rush you into immediately sending a Zelle payment, a Venmo payment, something wireless, some sort of wireless transaction that can't be traced, or if it comes to the point where they're saying, hey, can you pay me in gift cards? Those are all red flags that we want you to be aware of.
Sergeant Lorraine Fernandez says it's hard to recover money once it's lost in a scam.
The detectives will have to do a search warrant to see if that's a number that can even be traced. Hopefully that person made a mistake somewhere in order for us to be able to identify them.
Valerie's still desperately searching for Nala.
And all I want is her home.
If someone claims they have your lost pet, choose a safe public place to meet for the handover. I'm Susan Campbell.
To help you avoid being scammed, here are some tips and tricks. Number 1, do not pay for anything in gift cards, cryptocurrency, or in gold. Next, find a sounding board. And lastly, change the way you think if you have done or were planning to do any of the first bullet. And these are all from the AARP. Now we have results in from two big mushing races that took place over the weekend, starting with the Knik 200 finally finished after being postponed, and its 2023 Knik champion Eddie Burke Jr. with his second career win. The former Iditarod Rookie of the Year finishing nearly an hour and a half clear of his closest competition. And out west, the Kuskokwim 300 going to a familiar name. It's win number 10 for Pete Kaiser, breaking a tie for the most wins ever at that event. Pure domination for the 2019 Iditarod champion. And the NFL playoffs wrapped up championship weekend and has given us our Super Bowl participants. Let's start in the AFC. In a close defensive battle, New England came into Denver and pulled off the victory to advance to Super Bowl 60. Snow started falling in the second half, complicating conditions, and both teams struggled to move the ball effectively against the opposing defenses. In a very different game in the NFC, the Seahawks defended home turf once more in this playoff series against another divisional rival, the LA Rams, to punch their ticket to the big game. The biggest game of the year is now set and ready, but you'll have to wait 2 weeks. It'll kick off at 2:30 p.m. local time on NBC and Peacock streaming. And let's hop into our imaginary time machine to pretend that it's Sunday again, just for a minute or two. Sorry, you still have to go back to work on Monday. If I did, you do too. But Sunday marked the 102nd anniversary of the very first Winter Olympics. The competition was held at Chamonix in the French Alps on January 25th, 1924. There were 14 events involving 6 sports. The competition was known at the time as the International Winter Sports Week. 4 years later, the International Olympic Committee officially designated the Winter Games. That year, the competition took place in St. Moritz, Switzerland, and the 25th edition of the Winter Olympics kicks off in Milan, Italy on February 6th. So, what do you do when it dumps 10 or more inches of snow on you? Well, you go outside, gather as many people as possible, and start a giant snowball fight, of course. Or at least that's what these guys did in Brooklyn, New York. No one took an official count, so I'm not sure how many people attended, but it looks like a decent gathering there in McCarran Park for their big snowball fight party, whatever they want to call it. Regardless, it was probably a lot funner than shoveling their walks and dealing with clogged streets. And it seems they weren't the only ones with such an idea. With snow falling across a huge part of the lower 48, it seems fitting that with all that they're going to have to deal with today, clearing roads, getting back to work, and that kind of thing, they were able to get out and have some fun yesterday. Yeah, another good gathering of folks there, it seems, having a good time, and really that's what you have to do in times that can be stressful. Get out there, find a reason and a way to have a little fun, even if it's just to throw some snow into a friend's face. That definitely looks like a great way to enjoy some snowfall. And that is it for the Morning Edition Extra. Thank you so much for joining me this morning and for starting off your day with Alaska's news source. Have a happy Monday and have a great day at work if you're going to work. Have a good one.